name is Morrison. I'm a technical author at Canonical. So I look after some of the documentation along with a team of about 30 other technical authors at Canonical, two of whom are here with me. Andrea and Dimple are sat at the front, and they're going to help out. So if you run into any problems or if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in this session, but also feel free to reach out to any one of us if you have any questions at any time. This session is called Your First Open Source Contribution. And really, the framing for this is that the technical author team at Canonical feel really passionately about open source and making contributions to open source as easy as possible. So we started a project called the Open Documentation Academy. And the Open Documentation Academy was really and it's become quite successful. The initiative is to try and get people, showing people how to make contributions to open source, what a good contribution to open source looks like, and what the kind of collaborative process should look like, how friendly and welcoming and nurturing it should be. So this is what we try to do in the Open Documentation Academy. Now, the best way to do this, we decided, was through tasks related to documentation on projects. So that's why it's called the Open Documentation Academy, because the tasks that we help people accomplish are documentation tasks, because that's what we know best. But it also offers the broadest set of opportunities for people with maybe non-technical backgrounds, or Python developers who want to do something with documentation, or Go developers who want to do something else. So that's why we chose documentation. So it's good if you're interested in documentation, but it's also ideal if you want to understand how to start making open source contributions. So the plan for today is to go through the process of taking on a task from the Open Documentation Academy, working on a task, and actually pushing that completed task to the project that you're making a contribution for. And the idea is that we're all, hopefully, I'm going to try and do it live as well alongside with you, do this, and by the end of the session have at least created a pull request on a project for a change that we're going to make to the documentation. So I've just given a bit of an overview of what the Open Documentation Academy is about. You can find it on documentationacademy.org, but I'll share all the links later. What's in it for you, really, is that not only do you get the experience of what it's like to collaborate with an open source project and get help and hopefully feel welcomed in collaborating with an open source project, you get the history. If you, in GitHub, if you use it, you can add these experience to your resume or CV, and also you get to kind of network with other people who are doing the same thing. We have a community hour session, for example, every Friday, where people join an open meeting, and we've had dozens of people join, and we've had hundreds of contributions through the academy like this, and we know that we've helped people find work and apply for work using their experience in finishing tasks, open source contribution tasks in the academy to get them jobs. So that's really what's in it for you. Of course, for the projects involved in the academy, the open source projects, we get people looking at our documentation, and we also get help, but we also put a lot of effort into trying to help people. Currently, almost without exception, all of the projects involved in the Documentation Academy are canonical projects, open source projects. But our philosophy is very much to open up the academy to anybody, any project that wants to get involved and share their tasks and get people involved in the academy. In fact, one of the best things I can do is show you what it actually looks like. So the Documentation Academy is based on a GitHub repository. We do have a website, and we have some supporting documentation that's all actually bootstrapped through the Documentation Academy. But is everybody familiar with GitHub? I'm not sure how technical it is. Yes or no? And have people worked with Git generally? Maybe. I'm going to go through all of the steps required if you haven't, because this is the thing that we're going to go through. But GitHub is basically a user interface for managing source code, and source code, and in fact any kind of artifact related to a project. So we use it for documentation. And maybe if I open up the Documentation Academy repository. Sorry. document. Sorry. I'm actually tethered to my phone for the network. So this is what the Open Documentation Academy GitHub repository looks like. And if you're unfamiliar with how GitHub operates, basically you've got a file manager here in the central view, and then the contents of a README file, which you can see here in the file manager, is presented here as a first piece of documentation. So at the Open Documentation Academy repository, we provide a brief overview of what it does. But the real core of it is this Issues tab. For traditional open source projects, the Issues tab is where people will file bug reports. And then people associated with the project will respond, and maybe they'll assign themselves a task or ask for people to work on those. But what we've done instead is we've created a constantly evolving list of small, medium, and large tasks that we feel people may be interested in working on for the projects that are enrolled in the Documentation Academy. Going back a step here, there's a list of projects that are involved. You can see that I've actually lost count. We've maybe got 20 different projects that create tasks in the issue list on the Documentation Academy. So there's a huge variety. The idea is whatever your background or interest, whether it's documentation or development, whether it's individual binaries on a Linux system or AI, machine learning, we have tasks related to the kind of things that you're interested in. And we use this label system. This is all documented. One of these labels, for example, is workshop, which are tasks that are ideally suited for a workshop situation like this. So it's the issue tracker that's central to everything that we do. The way it really works is that if you're interested in taking on an issue and working on it, you leave a comment at the bottom of an issue. Say, you can see some of these have already been taken. So this is add a specific glossary term. Every issue has a description of what the issue is about, the resources that may be required to help you accomplish the task. And then basically anybody, any one of you comes along and say, I'd like to work on this. You can see that Robert, one of our colleagues, has created this task and has assigned the task to the person that asked to work on it. And that's what we're going to do today. So it depends on how far you are along in understanding Git and GitHub. This is a page on the discourse forum that we use. I'll leave the QR code up. It's got a bit of, what it does is it sets up your system if your system isn't set up already. If you're using Ubuntu, you will need to have Git installed, which should be installed. I'll share the actual page that this is on, and we can talk through it. And you also need to have the make command installed. That's for building the documentation. But that's basically it. To use GitHub, how many people have a GitHub account? Oh, that's nearly everyone. And do you know if you've got SSH keys, your SSH keys in the account? Okay, that's great. For those of you who haven't got your SSH keys, I'll explain briefly what happens. If you're familiar, most of you are familiar already with how Git works, but when you're working on a local version of a Git repository and you make changes, the way that GitHub now authenticates all your changes is through your SSH key. And you may be familiar with SSH keys from command remote terminal access. SSH keys are very interesting. They're like public-private key pairs. So when you create an SSH key, there's usually one part of it that's got a name, and then there's another part of it that's got that name, and then .pub. That's the public part of the key. That's the key that you can share with anybody and share with GitHub, so that when you connect to those services, they can verify that the public key could only be created from the private key that only you have. So if you don't have an SSH key in GitHub, it means that you can't make changes to the repository from the command line, which isn't a huge issue. There's actually a web interface, but I'd be very happy to go through it quickly if that would help anyone. If those people who don't have an SSH key in GitHub, are you using Ubuntu? I'll show you what to do, and it shouldn't take a minute. So this is my command line. Is this visible? So if I go into all the SSH keys that you have are in the in your home folder, so cd tilde and then .ssh, and I already have some in here. I already have one. So id_RSA and id_RSA.pub. If you don't have any SSH keys in there, then the command Does anyone have any questions at this point? Am I going too far ahead? Is it getting too technical? Is it not technical enough? Is that okay? The command, it's on the forum post for the instructions on how to do this, but it's basically the command ssh-keygen, then the -t, which is the type of key we're generating. This is the most modern key you can generate at the moment, ed25519, and then the contact email address. It's not used for anything, so you can make it up. And then if you do that, you'll go through, I'll do it, you can accept the default values. You don't use a passphrase, but it is useful for extra security. And that's as simple as that. If I actually look in the, I'm in the directory already, you can see that now we have these two new files that I created. And there's the pub file. So what I need to do is copy the contents of the pub file. Make sure it's not the private one, into the GitHub settings panel. So I'm going to copy it from the terminal. And then I'm going to go to GitHub. You go to the settings menu option. And then down here you can see on the left, SSH and GPG keys. See, I have quite a few in there already. Click new SSH key. You can call it anything you want, and then you paste the contents of the public key in here. Add SSH key, and I've got to verify it on my mobile. Is that clear? Yeah.
What is command after that? Enter file.
Just press return. You can just accept the default values. That's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. And that's the same. Yeah. So now you've got the SSH keys you just created in that directory. So they should be there. If you type ls, there's the file you've just created, and you need to cat to show the output of that.
ID.
Yeah, underscore ed dot pub. That's it. And then you need to copy all of that.
Only this?
No, the whole, just that line from the SSH through to the .com, which is that's it. And then paste it into, you started the new SH, that's right. I'll put it on the command, yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. How's everyone getting on? Anybody got any questions? Anybody stuck? Okay. keep taking my glasses off because my vision is about here, which is, so I can't see you, but I can't see my computer. So the reason why we've done that is because most of us work, it automatically authenticates your connection to GitHub and the repository for making your own changes to your own repository. It's much easier. Have I got this open up? So, so I'm just loading up the forum post that I provided the QR code for, just to show you what was in that. So there's a Documentation Academy forum. I should do a search. And it's the top, it was the top post on the forum. So we've created the GitHub account, we've added the SSH key to it. The next step that we need to do is to sign the contributor license agreement. This allows you to contribute to most projects at Canonical, which require the CLA. It doesn't give up any of your rights or copyright to the things that you do contribute, but it just makes it much easier for Canonical to use the work contributed to their projects from outside itself, and it's standard practice. I'm assuming, have most people signed the contributor license agreement? If not, it's worth doing it to be able to merge the final pull request, but it's not going to actually stop this workshop from happening, from blocking anything. So the other thing, so we've done, most of you got Git installed. The other thing that we'll need to have is make for the documentation to build. So that can be installed on Ubuntu with sudo apt install make. And just to make things easier quicker to build when we do, we need one package called Python 3.112-venv, or whatever version of Ubuntu you're using. Is that all clear to everyone? Just raise your hand or speak to any one of us if you have any difficulties. It's no problem at all. The whole idea is that we all kind of make mistakes together. If that's clear, then we can move on to the exciting part. So one of the sets of documentation that I'm responsible for is the Ubuntu core documentation. So I can take complete responsibility for how much we mess up the repository on the Ubuntu core documentation. So we're going to do a task on the Ubuntu core documentation. There are lots of problems because I'm a terrible technical writer. So there are many things that need to be fixed in the Ubuntu core documentation. This is real. I mean, this is the actual repository. This isn't like pretend. What we are going to do is create a genuine fix in the docs for the Ubuntu core documentation and create a pull request from it. So I'll show you the GitHub interface for this. What we're going to do is we're going to create the way that most projects work when you're developing open source. There are some people use branches on the main repository. But what most of us do, and nearly all of us do at Canonical, is we work on our own personal fork. So that means that here you can see that there's the Canonical-owned Ubuntu core docs repository. When you go to the GitHub user web page for this, you see the option to fork it. I'll show you that now. I had opened all of these things in preparation, but obviously I can't find them under pressure. Ubuntu core docs, GitHub. So this is when it loads, the Ubuntu core docs repository. So what you need to do is you need to go here, so github.com/canonical/ubuntu-core-docs. Is that okay? So if you can see over here on the right, there's a thing called fork, and a fork is your own personal copy. It's one of the best things about open source, you may have heard, is that if you don't like the way a project is going, an open source license means that you can fork it and you can own your own version of that. I mean, the best default behavior is to try and work with the project itself, but we can all do it. It's one of the best things about open source, that we're all empowered to do it, and it keeps all the upstream projects accountable, and it also gives us the freedom to do whatever we want. So you can make a copy of the Ubuntu core docs and make it whatever you want. You click on this fork button, you can see 61 other people have already done it, and you may only have one owner here. I can choose several. I can't choose myself because I already have my own fork, but your username is probably there, and you need to click on Create Fork. So what will then happen is that, if you can see here that this was Canonical, you will have my username on GitHub is Degville, D-E-G-V-I-L-L-E, and this is my own fork of the Ubuntu core docs. You can see it in the URL here. So hopefully you've all got to the stage where you've got a fork of the Ubuntu core documentation with your own username in the URL there. Is that okay? Has everyone managed that? Can I help? Do you need a hand? Can I help?
No.
You okay? Okay. If anyone has any questions, please just raise your hand and I'll try my best to answer them. Okay, so everybody got their own, could I see if people have got their own fork? Anyone want to put their hands up? Yeah? Anybody struggling, need some help? Okay. You okay? I don't mind trying to help, it's okay. Yeah? You want some help? No, okay, sorry. Okay, so what we now need to do is we're going to copy this fork to our local Linux machine on the command line with the git command. So first you want to click on this code button in GitHub and make sure that this SSH is chosen, because that's why we added our SSH keys to GitHub. And then click on this copy URL to clipboard. And then going back to the command line, move to a directory where you're comfortable to put the Ubuntu core documentation. I have a build directory, and then I created a workshop directory. And then the command you want is git clone, and then paste the URL that you just got from GitHub. Git clone will create a clone of your fork on your local system. So I'll press return and you'll see it just copies everything from GitHub to my local machine. So I don't know what the network likes for you. My phone speed's pretty good. So once it's cloned to your local system, you can cd, change directory, into the Ubuntu-core-docs directory. I mean, if I type tree, you basically see all the files that we could have viewed in the file manager in GitHub. It's all here. Is everybody with me so far? Yeah? Ish, do you need a hand? Okay. So we're now at the stage where we can almost begin to work on a task to fix a documentation issue. But before that, the way that I was going to talk a little bit about the way that a lot of documentation projects work And how we work with documentation at Canonical is that we use, I'll show you from the command line, but we use either Markdown, which is very much like plain text with a few symbols for headings and links and things like that, so that you can do a few extra things. And we also use restructured text, RST, which is a Python-like markup language for text. It's a bit more complicated, but it's a lot more powerful. It allows you to do things like import different bits of documentation from other projects, and to do clever things like not have static links and have references, which is what we're going to do today. Ubuntu core documentation, being on the simplistic side, uses Markdown, which is why all the files have this .md. And in fact, you can look, the index page is the, I'm not in the right, it's in the docs directory. If you cd to docs, all the docs are in there. The index page is the landing page for the Ubuntu core documentation. So here on the right from our repository, we're looking at the source code for effectively the Markdown text source code that is the landing page for this Ubuntu core documentation. It's a one-to-one thing. When we push a change to the Ubuntu core documentation repository, the documentation is immediately rebuilt and published. It takes a couple of minutes. So one of the things you want to do is see what the edits that you're making to documentation looks like. And we have a makefile that the documentation team has created to work with the Sphinx build system to pull all of these files together and create the HTML that the website publishes. And the makefile is exactly the same kind of makefile you may be used to for C or C++ or automake projects. It's just that we're using it for documentation-related tests. Makefiles are horrible, horrible things. I mean, I can show you. You can see it's basically a script with a load of variables. One of the things, so we've put all of the docs functionality into this makefile. So if you type make, you can see all of the things that our documentation makefile supports. And this is completely open source. If you are interested in building some documentation for your own project, then I highly recommend using our starter pack, which is what this is all from. You can copy it, it's open source, you immediately get this build system and the same kind of professional output from all of the docs that you're working on. So you can see here, we can do spelling checks, we can do inclusive language checks, we can do accessibility checks, but what we can also do is we can do make run. This builds the documentation, generates the HTML, and then uses Python's cheap web server, which I don't think it really qualifies as a web server, to host the HTML files locally. So hopefully this will work. There are no real dependencies. We tried to capture them initially. So make run will build it.
So the documentation is all written in MD files, and in what format do they get converted when I do make?
So yeah, the Sphinx.
What is Sphinx?
So I've just been asked, so all the documentation is written in MD files, Markdown files, and what do they become when I type make? So what Sphinx does, Sphinx is a well-established open source project for working with documentation. Sphinx is the build system, essentially, that takes the Markdown or restructured text files and generates HTML. So there's a build directory in here now that we've run make, which contains all the HTML files for the website, just verbatim. You could copy that to an Apache web server or whatever, and it would just work. You don't need anything else. And which is basically what's happening here. The cheap Python web server is running locally on port 8000. So if we go into your web server and type HTTP localhost 8000, accept the banner cookie. It's all running locally on your machine. This now is your version of the documentation hosted from your machine. Is everybody with me? If I just... All I've actually done there is split the terminal so that I can run the web server at the bottom and then show you something else at the top. So the only other quick thing I want to show here, you don't have to do this, but one of the ways, the way the system is set up is that with the make run running in a separate task in a terminal at the background, you can actually make changes to the documentation. So I'm opening up the index file. This is my text editor. I recommend you use something a little bit more user-friendly. So you could use Nano or whatever text editor you prefer. But I'm typing in a new line that says, this is a test. When I save this, you'll notice the panel at the bottom will detect the change and rebuild the documentation. And then if I refresh the web page on the left, you can see that this is a test has appeared here. So this allows you to write documentation locally in your favorite text editor on the raw markdown or restructured text files, and then see exactly what it would look like when the documentation is published, or when you copy the HTML files to your hosting service.
You're using the same port as me.
Am I?
I've built and it says it cannot start the server. As you're using port 8000 and I use port 8000 for the printer applications.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yes, but it is not standardized. I have no standard for getting the port for my printer application, and you have also no standard to get it for the documentation test.
Yes, you're right.
Yes, we have a nice standard set. IPP 631 is the IPP standard port, but as CUPS is on it, I have to take another one.
Let me see.
Incidences.
Yeah. There should be, so one of the people here actually has already got a service running on port 8000 on their machine. I actually don't know if there's a command to change that in the starter pack. So if anybody, Dimple, Andrea knows, let me check. Make serve.
But it's just to stop the service and then it works.
I'll have to look at the make file. So, Till, you can use -- port, and then...
I know just stop the printer application.
Oh, okay. So, if you do have a problem with the port, which is unlikely unless you're in charge of open printing, you can change it. And this is how you look at the make file.
This little Python program which you use as a server for doing this testing of the documentation. There's these cookies, as there was the usual pop-up, do you accept the cookies?
Yeah, I know, and it's all...
Or are you already tracked by Canonical when you are locally testing your documentation?
You're not tracked by Canonical, but that cookie banner is in the actual documentation. So the cookie banner is part of the documentation. So it's just local, it's not served on Canonical.
Yes. Because I'm also here, that I'm a little bit also looking what I can do with documentation.
Oh, we can help as well.
Yes. For example, seeing, this Python program, how the documentation is now displayed, one can perhaps also use it at open printing. We simply rebrand it.
Yeah. You should do that. We'd really love to help with that.
Yes, but it's all open source, and the branding is probably part of the content.
Yeah. So we've done, this is the next step, which is CD to docs and then build the documentation, which I just showed. So we're now at the stage where you can look at the Open Documentation Academy repository and take a look through the issues and find one that you may be interested in doing here and now. Now, that's a big ask under pressure. There is an issue, it's issue number 243. That is a problem on the Ubuntu core docs, a genuine problem where we have links in Markdown format. That in Markdown, unfortunately, when you do a link, it can only do it statically. So you have to put the exact path to where you want the link to go. A much better option is to have a dynamic link. So Sphinx handles this through restructured text. It's an interesting thing. So what this task is to do is to find a Markdown link that looks like, that looks like the red text here in these square brackets. I'll show it you in the real code, and then replace it with a Sphinx reference. But before doing that, if you want to do this specific issue 243, go to the Open Documentation Academy repository, which I should have kept open. Find issue 243. You can, actually, does this work? Okay, just do a search for 243. Replace Markdown links with missed references. And because there's many of us working on the same issue, you can leave a comment here while you're logged in and say, I'd like to work on this. Just like this, I'd like to work on this. And generally, we may not get a chance to review all of your submissions today, but I'm going to review everything that everybody does and try and merge it into the Ubuntu core documentation so that the things that you contribute here in this workshop will actually help the Ubuntu core docs and you will have made an open source contribution. So it's a good way of me being able to track who's working on this. Thank you. No, I haven't. In what make run?
After make run, yeah.
Have you tried make clean and?
Yeah, I did try make clean. So this solution that I've seen so far is to delete the repository and clone it again.
Really?
I really don't use that.
I've not
so
seen.
They don't have the activate inside of it. They don't have? So like activates the Python thing. Yeah, like they should delete the repository. They delete the repository and reclone it after they've installed make in Python.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
Yeah. It's like 4 people already.
Oh.
And they're getting that same exception.
Thanks.
Can't explain it. I'll go try that. If it works, at least I can proceed.
Okay, thanks, Dimple. Thanks so much. There's a couple of people that are having an error with when they do run the make command. We do have a solution. We've not seen this before. If anybody else is having the problem, let us know. I'll just give it a minute, and then the next step is what we're going to do is create a branch. The last Git-related concept to bring up, I promise. But a branch, so you've got a fork of the repository, you've cloned it to your local machine, and then on your local machine, you're going to create a branch, which is usually used to create a new feature or to address a specific issue. So we're going to use it as like a sandbox to fix one of the Ubuntu core documentation issues. Let me know if there are any questions. Thanks for everyone who's left a comment on the GitHub issue. Sure. Is that what people want to see, the issue number? Did it work? Oh, well done.
Equivalent of them somewhere. You had a discourse.
Yeah, the discourse post with the QR code for it. This one, I've got the QR code for this.
Could you
Yeah, put it back on.
put it on the side?
Oh, put it on the side.
But when you have these ref links, the text portion here
Yeah.
is always build your first page. It cannot be in one link, build your first page, in another link, anything else. It is always, in every link, it appears as build your first page.
So this
It's the text.
it's just the reference used by the build system. So you don't ever see that as a user, and it's called that, but it could be anything.
Is this the MD file
Yeah,
where
that's
the
the
link
MD.
is pointing to?
That's right. That's right. That is the destination unique identifier, basically.
Yes, yes. So this is the identifier, and this is the text.
Yeah,
part.
that's the head. That's the normal heading. So that's kind of ignored, but I'm leaving it there to show that we wanted to link to the
Yes,
heading with a
yes.
reference.
Yes. So, and if I put this one in the source and this one in the destination,
Yeah.
when it appears in the browser, it appears there, replace link with build an Ubuntu core image, right?
You replace it with this ref, the bit that is in Courier, ref backtick unique identifier backtick.
Yes, yes.
I'll show you. I'm going to go through it
Yeah.
and actually add it myself, so I can show you.
Yes, but one doubt is if you have in a static link, you have the link destination,
Yeah,
and you have a text
Yes.
which appears in the browser.
that's a very good point.
Yes, yes. And when I do several links throughout my documentation pointing to this file, each of this will have the same text built in Ubuntu core image.
Yes.
Is perhaps I want to have at one place another
Yeah.
title.
That's a very good point, Till.
Yes,
And I
yes.
was there's so I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll Google it. There's a syntax for this that allows you to put in your own text, so
Yes.
it doesn't get the heading from
Yes,
the
yes.
text from the listener.
This is something important.
Yes, it is, because you actually want it to be the original.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I will find that.
Yes. Look for more information here. Right here is the link.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you do not want to have the title as the other page being here. Or the page only be accessible via here.
So if you're interested in how this works, Sphinx is actually using a tool, a format called MIST, to combine both the power of restructured text and Markdown. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for a heading we're going to look for a static link in the Ubuntu core documentation, and we're going to replace it with one of these references. I'm going to do it live so that you can follow along. So if everyone's okay to continue, we'll create the branch on our local version of the documentation. So the command for that is git checkout, and then -b, which is shortcut for creating a new branch locally, workshop GM, and then in double quotes, create a name for the branch. The way that I've got my terminal set up here is you can actually see it's got this little GitHub icon and a little fork icon and main. This is just to help me navigate Git repository. So the main that is a branch in GitHub. When you create a new branch, the main branch is the default branch, and usually the branch that everything is published from. But of course, you can also create different branches for versions and publish different versions of documentation for different versions of a product, just like you can different binaries for a product. So when I press return after git checkout -b workshop.gm, you'll see the main here change to workshop.gm. And now I've switched to a new branch, and this is my new sandbox. So in Git terms, the main branch remains completely unaffected on my system, and Git will log all the changes that I make to main under this workshop-gm tag, effectively. It does a diff. So when you've created a new branch, the next thing to do is to just take a look at any file at random. There'll be plenty of examples of this. I don't know, I haven't prepared this, but there's plenty of stuff in the how-to guides, CD how-to guides. Maybe I'll go into Manage Ubuntu Core. You can go wherever you want to, look for a file, and I'm going to open up Modify Kernel Options. And I'm going to look for a link. Let me, a markdown link that I want to change to a reference. This is going to be typical that I won't find a markdown link in this. Also, my editor's hiding them, but I have got one here. So this is an example of what we're looking for. Underneath the heading Files for Modification in this Modify Kernel Options document, here's a markdown link. In the square brackets, the gadget snap text is the text that's published in the documentation. And then in the normal brackets, we've got the static location of the file that I want to link to. So you can see I want to go from the root of the documentation, the reference section, then a document called gadget snap format. So what I want to do is I need to go to gadget snap format. Let me I'm going to get very confused by the tabs now. So I'll quit that and I'll open up, to keep things simple, I will go to the reference section, and then it was gadget snap format. So this is the destination file. So what we've done is we've looked for this markdown link that's structured like the text in red there. And then what we're going to do is, I should have perhaps changed the order of this. We need to create a unique identifier in the destination document, which is formatted like this, and start bracket, a unique reference name, end bracket, and then an equal sign. So what I need to do is go to the gadget snap format. And in fact, there is already an identifier here in this document at the top. So another link is already another reference is already coming here. In fact, I think this is a result of Andrea's script. Thanks, Andrea. So I'm going to use this one. I'm not going to create another one. But if the destination of your link doesn't have this thing at the top, create one. You can use your imagination. And I'm going to have to remember this, because I'm going to have to paste it into the markdown link, this bit. Is that okay? It's a bit of a weird syntax, but it's basically bracket, then a unique identifier name as a string, and bracket, and then the equal sign. Create that in the destination document where you want the thing to go to. So I've not needed to make any changes to that document. I'll put a change in because I want to show you what you need to do to... If you've changed this destination document, you save it. Now, my terminal is helpfully showing me, you can see it's gone from green to orange here. And this is because Git is aware that I've made a change to a file, but in Git parlance, I've not staged it. I've not put it on the stage for Git to start to take notice of. So it's good practice when you change a file to stage it and to add a comment while you've done it. So the command to do that is git add. I'm going to do it for the two files though, and depending on your tab completion, you should find that it'll automatically find the file that's been modified. So git add, and then created a new destination, and then the partner command with git add, because you can add lots of files to a single commit. But I'm just going to do this one commit for this. So the command I'm doing now is git commit, and then -m means you won't be prompted for a message, and you can create a message in double quotes. And you can see I've done that. My prompt has gone green. Yours probably won't, but it means that there's that everything's being tracked properly in Git. If I did a git status, you see there's nothing to commit and the working tree is clean. So everything is being tracked in that branch. All the changes are there. I don't need to do anything more. Is that okay? Is everybody following along as much as possible? So we've created the unique reference ID for the destination of the markdown link. So now I'm going to go back to the modify kernel options document, which was in the how-to guides. Was it in management to core? Modify kernel options. And it was here for me. This would be different for you. So now we're going to replace this markdown link with, I'm going to copy and paste this line so that I can show you the two differences. So I've just copied it. I'm going to delete the markdown link. My memory's terrible, so it's actually curly braces, curly brackets, then ref, and then let me check. It's a backtick, which isn't very useful. You put a backtick there, and then you paste or you type in the unique identifier that you created, which I can't remember, of course. I put it in my tmux buffer, I can't remember. Let me open up here. It's gadget snap format, sorry. I'm just going to type in. I'm running this in a VM, which is making all my shortcuts go a bit funny, which is why I'm having problems. So back to reference, gadget, snap, format. That look right? And then I think there was a colon at the end. So this top line is the original line with the markdown. If I open that there, and then this line 68 there is the original line with the markdown link, and line 70 is the missed formatted reference. This is really useful when you're building documentation, because if I move the destination file, the gadget snap document, anywhere, I don't have to change the link in any of the source documents. It'll just be tracked automatically. What Sphinx does, it builds up a table of all of these references and identifiers, so it automatically knows where you're going to. And we do this a lot. As documentation grows, you typically start to feel uncomfortable with the navigation, and you may think it needs a subcategory, or you think that you need to reorganize it and place something somewhere else. This is something we commonly do. And with a reference, you don't need to then grep, for example, your entire set of documentation to find all the original links and change them. They're all going to be handled automatically. Is everyone okay? Shall I pause for a minute to allow people to catch up? I can see there's a couple of people with problems. I'll give it a minute and have some water. If you're way ahead, and you're finding this quite straightforward, by all means look at the other issues in the Documentation Academy. Sorry?
I've committed and pushed, so I...
Oh wow, you've already done this.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really great.
So I've changed these 4 links in the docs index.
Yeah.
So is it okay if I...
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect, yeah. So that's what we're going to do in the next step. So I don't want you to be bored, but that's exactly right. Well done. And that's the entire contribution. So if you wanted to try, if you look at the other issues, see if there's anything you find interesting, because a lot of this is a very simple example.
Yeah.
There are things that actually require like a glossary entry edition or something else that you may want to have a go at.
Question that's out of this topic. Which virtualization tool are you using?
I'm using UTM on the Mac.
UTM?
Yeah. I mean, I do use Linux machine all the time at home, but it's just so much. Yeah, you've got a Mac anyway. Yeah. UTM is really good, but it's a bit. I have a bit of a problem with the keyboard commands because I move them around.
So the copy paste doesn't work.
Yeah.
Commands.
Yeah, they're not working. But you can get them to work. But I've broken it in the meantime, and I'm using KDE. Yeah.
So I did this. I created this.
Yeah, you have. That's right.
So I placed the relative link, and I replaced it like this. But the general text is shown in the documentation.
That's right.
So why isn't it being compiled?
So have you tried it? The thing is that I should have said this. That needs to be on its own at a line above, ahead of the thing. And you don't need that either. So you just have this part, and this part goes before the heading. Yeah. So.
Why?
Is this because I chose to do it in Vim? Should I have done it in a different text editor?
No, it's okay.
I didn't expect
so this
people.
was the problem.
Yeah, that's right. And then after the equal sign, just delete the rest of the line.
We don't need this.
Yeah. So D and string.
So how does it know the link?
So what happens is when we do the make,
Okay.
the Sphinx tool makes a list of all of these. It creates its own table of where all the destinations are. That's just the format for the reference. It's just part of Sphinx. Yeah, we don't do anything.
Only good.
No, we don't have to do anything. I'll show you in a minute, but we can change the text. At the moment, it's going to take the text from here.
Yes, sir.
We just replace this.
It's a variable.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's just the variable.
Now we
So
just
that's
save
right.
this file.
It should work.
But we don't have the
value.
So how will you know that we are referencing to that
Particular.
destination? do you know that this variable represents this slash how to guides this
Yeah.
path, this URL path?
That's a good question. You don't know. What you do is, there isn't a way of managing that. So what you have to do is you have to find the document that you want and then look to see if there's a unique identifier for it. You don't know where it is. The point of using the reference is that it doesn't know where it is. Because Sphinx has built up a lookup table of the source and the destination.
So we need to set up something in a lookup table for this. We haven't done that either.
As the person responsible for the documentation, you would know where it was. It's working.
How does it work?
So what's happened is when the make command is going through all of the documentation and looking for the references.
It automatically does that.
Yeah, and then inside itself, internally, it's making a table of the reference and where the document is.
Oh.
So, and then the second phase, it goes through the documentation and looks for the ref link. Then when it sees one, it goes to its table and then it adds the link itself. So
from the previous version, it took out the reference where the destination is, and in newer version, it scans the lookup table.
Exactly. So that then if you move a document, it's linking the same. If you move that around, it doesn't matter. It's also got the title from the end link. So if ever you update this title,
So it is it's like position, right? So if we have another link and we keep that link above this one,
yeah,
it will be mismatch.
yeah, it would be. Well, no, yes, it would be. It would go to. It always goes to the reference, regardless of where that is.
So no. So what I meant to say is, so let's say there are two links, relative links. One is this slash how to guides.
Okay,
Yeah.
and another is open
Yeah.
account.
Suppose we had another this
Yeah.
relative link somewhere here, right? So while we reference this just above this, so if we change the order, we keep the second one on the first, then I think the lookup will mismatch the links, right? So
But I think you'd have to create another reference. Then you can create as many as you want in a document.
so what if we change the order
So how it is known that the link is specific? For example, if this is link 1 and this is link 2, and while we place link to it first and link 1 and second, it automatically finds out which links to go.
It does automatically find
So
out. but
how does that?
I don't really.
I think
I don't really understand. I'm sorry.
so let me so in this instance, right? So
Yeah.
we have used this reference,
Yeah.
and we have placed this variable
Yeah.
right here, right?
Okay.
So let's suppose this was another link
Yeah.
that we intended to change. Okay, so we will change this format just for the sake of
Yeah.
explanation, right? So we will do ref, right?
Ref and login link.
And here the
Login.
XYZ,
Yeah.
the variable name, right?
Yeah.
So and
You can
so
enter.
we are supposed to keep this variable just after the first link,
So
right? Or if we just switch these,
but the reality is that you wouldn't normally link in the same document. You wouldn't normally link from here to here. This should be in the destination document, in the document that you're going to. So you see, it shouldn't. Have you added this to another document?
No, only
Yeah.
here.
So it needs to go. It needs to go to the document where the destination is. Do you understand what I mean?
So, then
It's
how
not
do
in
you
the
call
same.
it?
I see what you're asking now. So this needs to go in where the link goes to.
Okay.
So you need to open up another text file where the link went to and put that there.
Okay.
So those two links would be different destinations, and that bit would be in those two separate files.
So we
I'll try and make
place the
that-
unique identifier here, and we place this in the destination to which it is going.
Yeah, so
It will
it's
not
going
be
to the destination, but it doesn't need to be here. It doesn't need to be here.
I understand that.
I'll try. No, it's a good question. I'll try and clarify. So I've had a couple of questions about the reference, the way the reference is structured.
I think the text is not there in your
Too small. Just to make it clear, you need to edit two files. One file replaces the markdown link with the reference, formatted like this. And the other file, so these are two files, I've got them open here. This is where the file, the bottom file here is where the link went to, where the markdown link went to. It's a separate file. And where the markdown link went to, I've put the unique reference identifier at the top there, reference gadget snap format. I've put that there in the reference, in where the destination went to. You can put that link anywhere in a file, it doesn't have to be in the top. And then where the actual link started in the source document, I've replaced that markdown link with the reference to the unique identifier. What Sphinx is doing is when you build the documentation, it creates a lookup table. It first goes through every single document in your set of documentation, finds all of the unique references, and then internally to itself remembers where those files are in the file system. And then it goes through all of the files again, looking for the reference links, and then fills in the gap. It basically just makes an HTML anchor there. But you don't ever have to worry about it. It does it through a lookup table.
Was it not thought about that one converts the existing files from static links to dynamic links? Because you are telling now one has to add two files.
Yeah.
So you have designed the workshop exercise as creating two new files who link where one links to the other by dynamic link.
Yeah.
So in the second line, do you want to add that gadget snap? It's not there.
I want to add the
text for that.
I was actually going to talk about the fact that it's going to insert the text from the title.
What if you don't want it to?
Yeah, no, I can't. I was going to cover it, but I can't remember the exact syntax. But I'll do it. I'll Google it. I'll Google it live, and we'll do it. But I was going to show that you can change the text on the title, and then.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So another interesting question that I should have mentioned is that if you remember the markdown link here, it's got the text gadget snap, which is the text that appears on the page. And I'm going to build this now, but we don't have the text gadget snap in the reference link. And I'll show you what happens. I'll delete this. And I'll save the file now. I shouldn't have actually changed that, but what I'm going to do is if you've modified both files, make sure you add them both with git add, and then do a commit. You can add more than one file in a single commit. I'm just showing it for good practice. Added reference. Now I'm going to build the docs. Hopefully it'll work and I'm not broken anything. Okay, make run. So I'm building them, I'm running the web server. Let's go to the local host. So it was how-to guides, manage Ubuntu core, was it modify kernel options, and it was I can't remember. Oh, here we are. So it was under files for modification. Now can you see we didn't have the gadget snap text in there, but it's inserted it. If we click on this link, I hope it works. Yes. So you know it's working as a reference because this has got this horrible green-yellow color at the top. But what's happened here is, another clever part of using references is that it's taken the text from the title after the unique identifier. If I go back to this, you can see it's taken the text from this heading here. So if I put here, Graham is ace, and then save it, the documentation is going to automatically rebuild. And then if I refresh this, it's not going to work, probably because of the cache. Well, that's work. This page isn't loading properly for some reason, I think. If you do run into problems, sometimes the best thing to do is turn it off and turn it on again. And that command is make clean, which gets rid of all the HTML cache and all of the virtual build environment that Python is using to build the docs, and make run, start that again. But it does mean you have to go through the build process again, which isn't too long with this. So I should never have done that. That's probably I've used my data up. So I'm having a connection problem, which is why it's not building. Are you sure? I don't know what's up. I mean, do you want to type it in? I don't want to.
I think my data is unlimited. It's the one with
Do you
the
want to type it in?
big name. It's called Warm Circle instead of Hotspot.
Do you want to type the password?
It's pizza 123. I really don't use this.
Thanks, Andrea.
Of course. Hope it works.
Okay. Andrea has very kindly run her own network connection for me, so yeah, it's working now. Much better service on your phone.
Now I have to change it to Andrea's case.
Yes. So I suspect the problem that we had before was because of the connection as well. So I hope you're not all suffering too much. See, it's building, so as you're probably aware, Python these days, everything is built within a virtual environment, so the Python setup is constrained to this. This is how we're working here. So it installs all the dependencies for the environment. Let's see. Okay, so you can see that the title has changed there to Graham is Ace. So it's pulling the title text. Now, as Till pointed out, we don't always want this to happen. It's actually very useful for this to happen most of the time. It depends on how you write documentation. If you're aware that the title is going to change, then you will often write a sentence in a way that makes the text in the link less opaque, so that it's open for interpretation. But sometimes, like click here for more information, not that you should do that, you want the text to be part of the reference, like it was with the original Markdown text. Now, we've just had a quick discussion, none of us can remember the syntax for doing that. But I'll go back to the original file. Docs, CD how-to guides, manage Ubuntu core, kernel, modify kernel options. Okay, and then it was down here. I can do a search for Graham, can't I? No, I can't. Okay, so let's find out what's... Googling. Yeah, missed reference links. I have to say that the missed documentation isn't great. So if you wanted to get involved in an open source project, maybe get in touch with the MIST project. They could do with a lot of help clarifying these things, because often you write documentation, you're under pressure, and you lack, like we've been helping people because of things we've kind of missed from this workshop. It's because we haven't thought of all the ways that people have a system set up, or people's knowledge. And this is really important part of technical writing, is always being open to how the context that other people have, and having to change and iterate. Documentation is really never done. You're always updating and changing things to accommodate other people's point of view. Makes it very hard to search for ref. Thanks, Andrea. So you can see, here we are, thank you. So in the documentation, you can see that this is what we've done now. We've got the curly brackets ref and then the backtick with the unique identifier that we've put in. But what we actually want to do is put in the text, define the text we want in the source document rather than relying on pulling the title from the destination document. So that syntax, if you can't see it, is curly brackets, backtick. But this is a terrible structure because it's your text here, but then you need to have angle brackets, and then you actually put your unique identifier inside that. So I'm going to do that now. So it was gadget snap for me, gadget snap. And then square brackets. That was it, wasn't it? And then I've just saved that. Go back to here. Oh, it's already updated. So you can see now that the Graham as Ace is gone, and then our text from that link has been reinstated from the original Markdown link. So this task for me now is done. What I need to do is, I've tested it, I've seen that it's all working as it should be, I've debugged it because it didn't have the text in there. I'm going to make sure all the files are saved and staged. So I've made changes now to that modify kernel option. So git add, git commit. Added reference text. Something I've missed here. So you see, I lost track of the files that I changed, and they hadn't been staged because my terminal was showing orange. That's not always obvious, but if you do git status, you can see that it isn't clear. I've changed this file, but I've not added it. I've not added it and committed it. So I can do that. I'll do that. I can't remember what I changed, but it was probably a spare line. Ugh. Right, so hopefully you've got to the stage where you've fixed the reference in your version of the Ubuntu core documentation, you've tested it, you've added it, and you've committed it, and everything has been staged on your own branch. We're now at the stage, the exciting part, where we push the changes that we've made locally to our own fork of the Ubuntu core documentation. And the command for that, I mean, I don't know if you're too familiar, but I think push and pull is a weird terminology that Git uses. I think it's Linus's fault. But basically, Linus is the center of the universe. So he pulls things into his repository, and we ask for permission to push stuff into his repository. And we do that ourselves locally. So git push. And then there's a few terms for this, but origin means that the repository that we originally cloned from. And then because the repository doesn't exist, the branch doesn't exist on the repository that we cloned from, we do -u and then the name of the branch locally, or you could create another branch name, but I'm using the same branch name. So git push origin. I'll move this up to the screen so people can see. -u and then the name of the branch. So now it's pushing all of our changes that we've made locally and we've tested back up to GitHub, where it's going to create a branch with the same branch name. That's done, that's all worked. Hopefully the same thing has happened for you. It may take a few minutes. So the exciting thing now is if you go back to your fork, your own fork of the Ubuntu core docs, on GitHub. Sorry, I should have saved this tab. I'll just go to mine quickly. What you should see, it's just loading. GitHub will know that you've pushed a new branch, and for convenience, because this is what most often happens, present a button for you to create a pull request. I think it's taking a while. If that doesn't happen, and it should happen, I'll show you what it looks like. It should look like this, compare and pull request when you've pushed it. This is the step that we've just done. It's not doing that for me. But this view here on the left allows you to switch between branches on your repository. You probably won't have to do this, but I'm going to switch to the workshop GM branch, which is the updated version. Is everybody still with me? Not sure why this didn't work. I think it's the network. That's it. So you probably won't have to do this, but what I've done is manually switch to the branch in GitHub. And then there's a contribute button if you've had to do this. If you haven't had to do this, then you should have seen this compare and pull request button. Clicking on that and me clicking on this will do the same thing. Open pull request. So what this is doing is you're then going to create a pull request on the Canonical Ubuntu core docs repository saying, look, I've made a change, and will you consider incorporating this into your repository? This is the user interface for this. You can see the base repository here is the Canonical documentation and the main branch, and then the it'll be different for you if you've gone through the same green button from before, but it's just telling you the branches that are being worked on here. And the useful thing is that below, if you're familiar with diff views, you can see all the changes that you've made to the documentation. So the red, things coloured in red are things that have been taken away, things coloured in green are things that have been added. Without colour, you'll see a minus and a plus symbol. It's just the structure of a Unix utility called diff. So you can see I actually did that's called a drive-by fix. I didn't even mean to. I deleted a space there as well. But otherwise, I've still got Graham as ace, so I've actually got a problem there. I'll fix that to just show you what happens. If I go, so that was the... So if you do notice a problem like this in the branch while you're considering making a pull request, you can make a fix in your local version of it and push it again, and GitHub will automatically update. So let's go to the reference gadget snap format. CD reference, oh sorry, gadget snap format. So I need to change this back to, I guess it was gadget snap format, but I can't remember. And I'm going to save that, and I'm going to have to add that. I'm going to commit it with a message. This is like a bug, really, fixed bug. So I fixed something that I've noticed, I've added it, I've committed it. I'm going to push it again to the same branch, git push origin, and then the same branch name. And GitHub, the web UI in the background, should update to show this. Let's see. I'm going to refresh it because I can't be bothered to wait. It's actually very dynamic, the GitHub user interface. So you can see the last commit that I did there, fixed bug, is now there. These things on the right are a unique reference for every single thing you changed. And actually I did choose exactly the same title because it's no different to what was originally in the repository, so it's not showing it. So I'm happy with all of that. The best thing to do here is consider the people who run the project, why you're proposing this change. So this is I'm going to replace markdown link with missed reference. There's a lot of kind of shortcuts in GitHub that you can use, but you could say, I'm not going to do this because it's a big task, but you can say, I can't even get the hash symbol on my keyboard, so I'm not going to try that. You can close things automatically, but fixes. The more text here you can add, the better, because it really helps the people who run the project. Issue with the docs. So with that done, I'm going to create a pull request. Is everybody with me? Yes. Well done, that's awesome. And then create pull request. That's basically all the hard work done. You've fixed a genuine problem in the Ubuntu core documentation. You've proposed what needs to be changed, you've pushed that, and then you're asking the maintainer of the Ubuntu core documentation to consider your change. Now, the web interface, so I'm responsible for the Ubuntu core documentation. You can see I've got 12 pull requests open, which some of them are yours, which is amazing. And here's mine. Here's the replace markdown link with reference. So I didn't even get the title right, which is bad. So what I would then do is I would review the proposed change, or the team would. It's usually a team that does. For this case, it's actually running a test to make sure that nothing has broken in the changes that we made, which have passed. I can look at the diff of the same diff that we just looked at here with the files changed. What you will typically find is that people will be added as reviewers, other people who are using GitHub who may have specialist knowledge in the things you've done. You may want to, the person reviewing a pull request, which is a whole different topic, may want to leave comments for you to suggest revising something or saying that something isn't clear to them, in the same way we've had a conversation. But if everything looks good, what happens is that one of the maintainers will approve the pull request, which I can't do because it's my pull request. And then with it approved, the person in charge or you can merge it. So I'm going to merge this one because it does actually fix a genuine problem, and I'll merge yours as well. I've gone to the wrong thing here. Right, I'm going to merge pull request. So this is actually going to make that clunky fix live on the real doc. So I actually hope I don't break anything. If I go to, so all of our documentation for Canonical is published. There's a hosting platform for documentation called Read the Docs. And I'll just show you this, depending on the network. What's happened, Read the Docs will automatically build the documentation that we've just submitted and actually make the documentation live. So what I was going to do is open up Read the Docs and show you. But I won't be signed in, so let's see. Mind you, we're out of time, aren't we? It's an hour and a half. I've just realised, for some reason, I was thinking we were finishing at past, but we've actually got to the end of the workshop in creating the pull request, and I've just merged the pull request. And I think you've all done amazingly well to follow it this far. Once you've done it once, it becomes much easier. And you can do this with any project. I encourage you to try and do it with the Documentation Academy. So well done. You really have made a great contribution to the docs. If you have any questions, please reach out to Dimple, Andrea or I. We're here until the end of the sessions today. Get involved with the Documentation Academy. Leave questions on the forum. Speak to us personally, message us personally. We really want to help. If any of this was unclear, or equally ask questions and we'll help. But otherwise, well done and thank you very much.
We have all a look at issue 74.
Yeah, I really thought we had an extra half an hour.
What?
I really thought we had an extra half an hour.
Yes, it's too long for the workshop.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, there's a QR code there for we are hiring. If you're interested in being a technical author or anything else at Canonical, you don't have to have technical authoring experience. You just need to be brilliant and passionate. Please have a look and don't hesitate to ask us if you need any more information, and we'd be happy to help. Yeah. And if you want to ask any questions about being a technical author or documentation, we'd be very happy to answer your questions, or even if you've got documentation questions of your own. Thank you. I think it's break time. I'm not sure if there's coffee or if it's tea. It's high tea, isn't it? That's a term I haven't heard for a while.